get the recording.
Eric, it might be good to have everyone mute their microphones if they're not speaking.
Yes, that would be good as well. Thank you.
So if you know how to mute your microphone, that would be helpful. That way the background noise won't come in.
And Eric, may I introduce my sister and my mom who are joining us from Texas? They just joined us in the box in Palm B. There's my mom and and my older sister.
Welcome. All right, Mark.
Very good. Thank you, Eric. Welcome to everyone. I was honored to be asked by Eric to help him in this project. I intend to not go beyond my limits either, so I can set up the pace for everyone else. Eric, when he first introduced this project, paid tribute to Troy, both for Troy's scholarly contributions, but also for the way that Troy supported the scholarly community. And I certainly have experienced that latter bit a lot in my life. Troy and Cheryl just really have helped me personally, and I'm not going to get into personal stories on that right now. But I want to also add something to what Eric said, and I want to pay tribute to you, Troy, and actually Cheryl is involved in this as well, but to you especially, because I find that your scholarship and your participation in the community is because you recognize that scholarship for its own sake doesn't really go anywhere. The community and the scholarship go together, but it's held in place. It engages in something that I sometimes don't find in scholars, and that is a recognition of truth, recognition of the sovereignty and the transcendence of truth in sort of the profession that you have undertaken. So, you know, I've had many conversations with you, and I walk away feeling a bit humbled because of your respect for that dimension of scholarship. I think you actually submit to it. You submit to this transcendent truth and find meaning in your personal life and in your scholarship in a way that I rarely find among other scholars. I'm so grateful for that, and I think it really, because you are so approachable, I think that also that's a reflection of the way that you have submitted yourself. You recognize the truth, that the sacred mission that you have, and it humbles you, and it helps you to find meaning in your family, in your personal life, in your scholarship, and in the sufferings that I have talked, you know, that I know that you have gone through. I mean, life is not easy for any of us. And certainly you have found meaning in the sufferings you've gone through. And so, you know, I'm just humbled by you, and I want to thank you for that. And I'll stop there. I'm so grateful for our friendship, both to you as a scholar and as a mentor for me. I'm going to now just turn it over. What I'm going to do, folks, is I'm going to turn it over. And you don't have to say anything. You can just talk about your article. You can just talk, you know, Eric has given us instructions on this. So I'm going to just go in alphabetical order. And if you have something to say, then you have stage. And I'm also going to sort of play the role of a monitor, policeman, whatever. If it starts to get beyond, let's say, the 90 second to 120 seconds, then I probably will interrupt and so that we can move on, unless it's like life and death or something like that. And Troy can tell me it's life and death. So let's move on. I think in alphabetical order we have, is Lori on? Is Lori here? Are you there, Lori?
Lori? I am here.
Okay, there he is. Go ahead, Lori.
Oh, Troy, what he said. I totally agree. It's been a long, strange trip, hasn't it, Troy?
Yes, it has, Lori. From seminary, yes, it has.
Shared a lot of common experiences and encountered some of the same roadblocks. but I want to know that, boy, all the way back to the seminary, I guess I first met you, and I considered you my friend. And I think the more I get to know you, the more I consider you my friend. Your scholarship, always cutting edge, and sometimes maybe a little bit too close to the edge, but I really appreciate how you aren't afraid to challenge the consensus and go where nobody's gone before. And you've helped me even in your Old Testament, your Job article. Wow, I'm going to refer to that in the near future here. Churchmen, I appreciate that you are always eager to apply your scholarship to the church, and I appreciate the way you're engaged in the church. I think you've helped our denomination, even though there's probably some in leadership roles that would disagree, but you definitely have helped us. And last of all, you attempt to live your teachings. And I appreciate that, to be fair and just in your dealings. I really do think you are the righteous landlord. So anyway, I appreciate what you've done, and let's move on to the next person, I guess.
Good, thank you, Lori. Let's go on to, is Richard here? Richard Choi. I don't see Richard. All right, Avis, I get a chance to meet you. I know that you were on just a minute ago. Hey, Avis, there, very
yes.
good.
Yes, nice to meet you as well. Well, Troy, we're nearing a 30-year mark of being colleagues and friends. But I said everything I really wanted to say in the chapter. So in my brief amount of time, I wanted to publicly acknowledge and thank your wife. Because without Cheryl and our going into cahoots with each other to draw on your daughters and your sisters and members of your church and more inner circle, that chapter would never have had the scope and depth and richness of what it was we all wanted to be able to say to you about you. And as I ended that chapter, as Jenny and I ended the chapter quoting from that line from Walter Brueggemann, never leave the text without wrenching a blessing from it. I have never left a conversation with you without feeling blessed.
Wonderful. Thank you, Avis. Andrew, I think, there you are, Andrew. Please, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for a chance to say a few words to you, Troy. Many of us have known you through the years for your work on Greco-Roman rhetoric in the New Testament, and I still regularly consult your thorough review of the field from several years ago. But where I'm most indebted to you has been your work on Galatians, as you know. You are one of the most sensitive interpreters of all syntax I have ever encountered. The way you put the puzzle pieces together is some of the most insightful work that I have ever seen. But I'm even more indebted to you as a friend. And, we all know you as among the kindest people in our field. You warmly welcomed me in the Chicago Society a few years back. You guided me thoughtfully in preparing a manuscript for publication. So I just owe you a great deal, Troy, and I'm very grateful for your friendship.
Thank you, Andrew. Jenny? Yep. You have to, yeah, very good.
Yeah, hello. I also said a lot of what I wanted to say in the opening chapter, so let me just recap and say that my life has been completely changed because of you, Troy, because you're the first biblical scholar I ever met, and you did such a beautiful job of it that I had to come after you and take up this field as well. And in doing so, you also laid the foundation for how I do my scholarship, as you were the first one to teach me and the only one to teach me for many, many years. So my life has been changed forever because of you. It has been incredibly blessed because of you. and in a scholarly capacity, in a professional capacity, in a pastoral capacity. I just thank God for you because my life has been completely changed. And as I say to many people, you are one of the very finest human beings it's ever been my privilege to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. I think at this point, Chris, if you could unmute your microphone and join us, that would be great.
Well, hello, the far end of the world. Or perhaps I should say, g'day, good morning. Troy, nearly 20 years, sir, since we met in Turkey. And one of the great delights I've had from meeting Troy is discovering the ways in which it's true, what Oscar Wilde said, that Anglophones are people divided by a single language. Learning the different ways in which Americans particularly use the English language has been intriguing to me and has sensitized me to the things we do together as a scholarly community. The most striking example I've found is the word liberal. Now, you may or may not know this, but in Australian politics, the Liberals are the Conservatives. The Liberal Party is the approximate equivalent of the Republican Party. It's only a very approximate equivalent. But it's just a nice example of the ways in which history and context really do change the meanings of words. It meant liberal as opposed to the monarchists, as opposed to anything else. And this is something I guess we as scholars are all very much alert to, that history and social context do change the meanings of words. But there are examples where I hope this won't always be the case. Take two words that we're all fairly familiar with here, gentleness and respect. Now, those are words that have fairly clear meanings in English, and I take it they have fairly clear meanings in 1 Peter as well. But different social contexts will change those meanings. And what I'm hoping is that we can all define gentleness and respect simply in terms of what we've seen in Troy, because that will do as a sufficient background to understand those words, at least for our time and place. Troy, it's been marvellous to know you over 20 years, and we're hoping to get you south of the border sometime again soon.
Very good. Thank you, Chris. Thanks for this extra effort that you committed yourself to in making your presentation. Let's go to next on the list. Is Najib here? Najib, or I don't see Najib, and nor is he on my list. So let's go to the next person of the contributors. That would be George. George Lyons, are you there somewhere?
I am here.
Excellent. Go, George.
I made no plans to speak today, fearing that I might wax too eloquent for my own good. Troy, I love our friendship. I remember when you were a young scholar working to get your dissertation done, and it was my privilege to be your colleague during some difficult years in both of our lives for various reasons. But our friendship has sustained us across the years. I appreciate the way you have been willing to critique what I've written and how you've listened to my questions. And it has been a joy. Writing my chapter for your Festschrift was a challenge. I don't do that kind of detailed scholarship very often anymore. I have been dubbed a popularist, I guess. But it was a good experience, and I'm glad that I was able to do it. And I wouldn't have done it for someone that I didn't respect as much as you, but I was glad to do it. Thanks, I'm done.
Thank you, George. At this point, Eric, do you want to say anything more, or do you want to pass?
I'll keep my comments very short since I've had the opportunity earlier to speak to Troy. But let me say a few words to Cheryl, kind of echoing what Jenny and Avis have already said. This project would have been impossible without Cheryl. and we engaged in so many covert email conversations and phone calls that it almost felt like spy and dagger. But we appreciate very much Cheryl's many contributions on this, even in terms of discussing who to invite and who not to invite to contribute to the Festschrift. And all of you obviously got good words, so I don't mean to imply anything negatively there. But it was a pleasure working with you, and we are amazed that you were able to keep this secret the entire time. But we are so delighted that everything worked out as it did. It would have been nice if it worked out a little more quickly, but we are very pleased with the final volume and hope that it serves as a fitting tribute to Troy. Thanks.
Thanks, Eric. At this point, I'm looking for Nancy. I think Nancy said she was going to be on, but I don't see her on our list of participants. Nancy, are you there anywhere? Nancy Pardee? Sigh. Okay, I know she really wanted to say something. Let's go to, is Claire Rothschild there? I don't see her on our participant list either. And she was confirmed she was going to say something. I thought I saw Russ Sisson, or you, Russell, there you are, go ahead.
Well, it's good to be part of this meeting, and it was good to be part of the project, the Festschrift project. It's one of the more enjoyable and rewarding writing projects I've been involved in, partly because I heard some of the chapters in the book given as papers at the Midwest meeting, and those that were not given at that meeting. I'm looking forward to reading them once my copy comes. I've ordered it and I'm waiting for it to come. But it's a good assortment of articles. I just think it's a good volume. And Troy, you and I've had enough conversations that I probably don't need to say a lot here. But one thing I will say, it really goes back to us getting to know each other at Midwest meetings. The first time I heard you deliver a paper, I was struck by how you approach interpreting text similar to the way I do. And your papers are always well written, easy to follow. And it's just something that I look forward to. And then after papers are over, it's just so easy to have a conversation about it. And sometimes the conversations continue on to the next time, we are together. That's something I'm very grateful for. And I'm looking to the next time we'll be at the same meeting, and maybe some of those conversations we've had can go on to the next stage. But, I'll just end by repeating it's really been a blessing to be able to be part of this project. And some of you I don't know well, but as I say, I've heard some papers already, and I'm looking forward to reading others. As I look down the table of contents, I find a number of interesting topics there I want to take a look at.
Thanks, Russ. And as far as I can tell, the contributors now will conclude with Francois Tolmy. Francois, nice to meet you. So I will let you take the floor. I'm going to, because of a few people who didn't show up, and I just checked this with Eric, and if Eric, you're still fine with this, I'm going to also open the floor to anyone else who feels like they want to say something to Troy. So go ahead, Francois. Welcome.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Troy, greetings from Africa, specifically from South Africa. When we met at an SPL conference many, many years ago, for the first time, all that I knew of you at that stage was that we shared a love for rhetoric and for the rhetorical analysis of the New Testament. Since then, we have become friends. We have had many wonderful dinners together at SPL conferences. And we even had the privilege of receiving you and Cheryl here at our university in Bloemfontein. From my side, my appreciation for your contribution to New Testament scholarship and for your friendship. It is a privilege to know you, and it was a great privilege to make a contribution to this volume in honor of you, and in this way also to have my name associated with such a great scholar. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Francois for joining us from Africa, South Africa. All right.
Mark, just before you open it up, may I introduce some other guests that I failed to introduce? I introduced my family, but I have some other guests here who are not part of the project as well.
Of course.
And I'd like to introduce Aaron Canty, who is my colleague at St. Xavier University. And he teaches in the area of Catholic theology and church history. So thank you, Aaron, for being here. And then Edmondo Lupieri, whom I've gotten to know at Midwest SBL, CSBR, and I highly value his friendship. A few of my publications have come about because of Edmondo's heavy lifting in some Italian journals. And so thank you, Edmondo, for that, and welcome today. And then also I've invited my Dr. Vater Hans-Dieter Betz, again, without whom none of this could have been possible. He took a West Texas kid from the farm who didn't know very much about anything at all, and really set my course for trying to understand the ancient world. And I shall forever be grateful to you, Dieter, for all that you contributed to my education. And the wonderful dinners that we had at your house in Crystal, your wife. Thank you, Crystal, for those dinners. It was really, really wonderful. And then my guest, Margie and Rick. Margie and I were in Dieter's classes and highly intimidated, although I think I was more intimidated than she was in those classes. And so I've appreciated her friendship over the years. We suffered through our doctoral exams together, and we're writing our dissertations at a similar time. And so we have a lot of history. And then Rick, her husband, was actually the chair of the department at St. Xavier. And had he not given me a job 30 years ago, I probably would have likely gone into the pastorate and been a pastor all these years. So I owe a great deal to these folk. And so thank you very, very much. So sorry, Mark, to interrupt.
No, that's great. That's great. I was going to say something about the Texas boy and, making good on his life.
If I could interrupt for just a second.
Sure, go ahead, Eric.
Troy, would you also introduce your family members again, both for the sake of those who weren't on the call earlier, but also so that they can be recorded in our session as well?
Okay. Well, my mom is with us, Lavalta Martin, and so she and my sister Pam is with her as well. And my mom was Aunt Sue. Oh, and Aunt Sue is there. My Aunt Sue. Okay, well, my mom was my earliest Bible teacher. She read Bible stories to me when I was a kid. And my Aunt Sue was my high school Sunday school teacher. And she's the one who really answered and helped me to really get an interest in how the Bible really applies to our lives. And so I'm grateful to her. And then my younger sister, Susan Leach, whom unfortunately we can't see, and her husband, Jim, are with us. And Terry Couch, my brother-in-law, Cheryl's brother, is here as well. And then with me here again is my older daughter, Andrea. She's with me. And my oldest grandchild, Paige, who attends DePaul University and not St. Xavier, much to my chagrin, but okay.
Well, good. When you get to meet Troy, you meet his family. All right.
Oh, and I'm sorry. And I left off my younger daughter, Amy, and my grandson, Lucas, who are also joining us.
Oh, I see them. Okay, great.
Yes.
Good. Welcome, you guys. Welcome to everyone. We have some time left, and I want to just kind of open the floor. you can't all speak at once. So let me just, whoever comes up first, please defer to that person if you have something that you want to say later. Edmundo, go ahead.
Thank you. Very, very quickly. I'm kind of a friend of the 11th hour with Troy, but I want to say just a very short sentence. You know, Troy, in this society, in this world, America, Italy, all over, we're used to the do des, quid pro quo, right? With you, it doesn't work like that. And that was so fantastic. You, your wife, your family, you open your house to everyone, to us, including this stranger who just came from the other side of the pond, right? And you didn't expect anything back. So this is absolutely wonderful. So thank you, Troy. Thank you to you and to your family for this friendship. It has been wonderful. And I hope that we can be physically together again as soon as possible. Thank you.
Okay, Margaret Mitchell or your husband? I don't know whose the hand applies to, maybe both.
Thank you. What an honor it is to be here among those on singing your praises, Troy. You mentioned that we did our doctoral exams together. I always feel like we've gone through the field as twins in some way after our ordeal by fire. But I do want to go even earlier than doctoral exams and remember that you and I had Greek classes with David Wilmot of blessed memory. And that's where we learned that the other Bible is actually Herbert Ware Smyth's Greek grammar. And we have gone through life with our cover falling off Smyths, which have been in many ways the touchstone for us. I salute you on this day. I resonate with everything that's been said, both about the excellence of your scholarship, the goodness of your character, and the firmness of your friendship, which has really greatly impacted my life. And I thank you very much for that. I also want to acknowledge that you've impacted the lives of so many. That this year, Troy received the President's Medal at St. Xavier for teaching and mentoring. And I know this personally because one of my second year MDiv advisees, Sister Hua Nguyen, was mentored by Troy and is thriving in our program. So I kind of feel like the rivers run into the sea in a way, and the lives that you have touched continue to go out into the world doing lots of good things. And so thank you for your friendship, Troy, and thank you for allowing us to be a part of this day.
Yeah, I'm honored to be here, Troy, too. And I'm probably the only person on this call who doesn't read Greek, but I can tell a great story about Troy. Troy says that I was the chair when he got the job, but he really got the job. And just to tell you, Troy came out to interview and he called me on the phone before the interview and he said, Rick, I'm really concerned because I'm not a Catholic, I'm a Nazarene Christian. And I wonder what that's going to mean. And I said, Troy, you should just come and be yourself. And at the interview, he was at lunch with a bunch of my colleagues. And at one point, Troy, you may remember that one person said, Troy, you know, how would you feel about coming to a Catholic school? And Troy went on to talk about all the common things that Nazarenes and Catholics shared, including not eating meat on Friday. And he finished his answer, and one of my colleagues said, well, Troy, that's great, but you know, since Vatican II, we do eat meat on Friday. And Troy, to his eternal credit, slapped his forehead and said, boy, I blew that question, didn't I? And at that moment, I knew that he'd gotten the job. And I just want to say, Troy, that I hope St. Xavier treated you as well as I know you treated it. I'm sure it did. And congratulations on this day.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you.
Could I say a word from the sense?
Yes, Professor Betts. Let's let Professor Betts speak, and then we'll go after that.
A few words just to say that I'm very proud of you, Troy. You are one of my first students in Chicago. And this was decades and decades ago, as you know. And we both came from different places. And it wasn't all that easy to make the changes. I came from California and then from Germany. Now that was something. And you came here and we stayed the ground,
Yes.
both of us, which was very important for this area, the community, the churches, the schools, and so forth. And so we are still together in this.
Yes, we are.
And I'm very proud of you
Thank you, David.
and your wife. And that's all I want to say.
Thank you. Thank you, Dieter. That means a lot.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else have anything that they want to say before I turn it back to Eric?
Very briefly, if I could.
Yes, please.
First of all, if I may briefly introduce my wife, who only two of you know. This is Jan, and Jan, Troy and Cheryl, there on the left-hand side. Yes. They look familiar. I'm a little surprised, I have to say, that nobody has commented on Troy's sense of fun. Whereas that's the thing that sticks with me the most. I've never forgotten in a bus in Turkey on a trip led by, well, by about a dozen biblical scholars. Troy gave a talk as we approached Pisidian Antioch, answered questions, then answered follow-up questions, then answered supplementary questions. And then when he was asked on a supplementary question, he said, well, I'm really sorry, but I've already explained more than I understand. And that strikes me as just about everything that you need to know about Troy.
Good. Thank you very much. And it looks like one of your family. Is that Terry Crouch? Terry Couch? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Terry,
brother-in-law. Yes.
Terry, do you want to say something? Your hand is up.
Yes, sir.
Please.
I just
Please.
wanted to say that I know that Troy and Cheryl, one of the primary purposes in their scholarship is truth and humility. And I know that he appreciates Dr. Betts and all the scholars. I know that working with all of the scholars is important in his life. And I know that he believes in that truth that each one of you seek. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you too. And James Leach.
I'm the baby sister.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to say thank you for so much for writing this book to honor my brother. He's I was blessed being born in his family with him, and I admire him. I'm thankful. My faith, I owe it a lot to him, and I thank you all for seeing what a wonderful man he is, and for honoring him with this book.
Thank you, sis.
Very good. Nicely put. Thank you. Anyone else? Well, Eric, I turn it back to you then.
And I turn it to Troy.
Oh, that's correct.
Okay.
Sorry. Last but not least, Troy Martin.
Well, thank you all. I mean, I hardly know what to say, but thank you doesn't seem to be quite enough to really express my feelings to all of you. But I just want to reflect a bit on this Festschrift, and I mean, you all forced me to do some introspection that I've never done before, and you engendered some feelings in me that I've never had before. I mean, when I read that chapter that Avis and Jenny wrote about me, it was like having an out-of-body experience. I remembered the things they were talking about, but at the time, in my memory, they weren't so grand and they weren't so glorious. They were just the right thing to do. And it made me wonder if maybe when Jesus reads the Gospels, Jesus doesn't have some out-of-body experiences in a similar way. You see yourself there, but you don't see yourself in the same way. And it was just really quite an interesting thing to read, how others see you and the disconnect with the way that I feel about myself. I mean, even the title of the book, I thought about that with gentleness and respect. And I thought about myself, and it made me realize and articulate a principle that I've lived by, but never fully articulated it, is that life is really hard. It's really hard. And one of my goals in life has always been to treat everyone with gentleness, because life is harsh enough. And I just never had articulated that principle before. And then the respect, again, it just forced me to think about that in a way I hadn't before. And I guess it forced me to realize is that I believe every single one of you, and indeed every single human being, is created by God. And so that means that everyone deserves respect. And if I disrespect anyone, in a way, I'm disrespecting God's creation. And so you forced me to think those things through that I'd never really thought about myself before. But I mean, one of the main problems I've had with this book is that in our field, a Festschrift marks some kind of success. And I have to confess to you, I've never felt really successful in my entire life. Success is always something out there for which you strive, you work hard for it, but you never really ever attain it. I mean, and this book forced me to stop and think about that, about success and what it really is. And I had to come to the conclusion that it isn't just having a Festschrift, because all of us have worked with Festschriften. And you know what we do with them? We get the stuff out of them we want, we plug it in a footnote, and we never really think about the person really who's being honored by the Festschrift. So it wasn't just the Festschrift that made me feel successful. And I kept trying to put it into words. What is it then that's making me feel like I have some degree of success? And when I read your articles, and I've read them all in the Festschrift, and the ton of work that all of you did, I mean, my goodness. But then I realized what success really is eliciting the best out of other people. It isn't attaining position or wealth or fame. It really is drawing out the best in those around you. And when I read what you wrote, and when I mean, what you all have done here is really a wonderful thing. And your virtue and your downright goodness in putting all that effort into doing this for me is just, I mean, your virtue just was glowing to me. And then I realized that the reason I feel successful is because all of you have done so well in putting this together. And so I just want to say those trite words, which again cannot express what I really feel, but thank you all so very, very much. I really do appreciate this. And I hardly know what to say because this is such a wonderful thing. Thank you. Thank you all.
Everybody's clapping.
Thank you.
That's so sweet.
Thank you.
Eric, I'm deferring to you, and I'm thank you, Troy. I love you.
Well, thank you, Mark and Eric, for putting this all together. I also, since I've done some editing work and reading through the articles, I kept thinking, wow, Mark and Eric did a lot of work here because there's a lot of technical kind of information in there that really required a lot of work. So thank you all very, very much.
Eric, the floor is yours.
All right. Well, thank you. Thanks to everyone for joining today. And thank you for your comments. And Troy, thank you for your response. We expect to receive critical evaluations of each of our articles within the next 2 weeks. Is that correct? Oh, just kidding.
From me, I take it.
Yes.
Yes, well, I must say, I wrote a lot of notes as I read. It was all very, very interesting. And you wrote on First Peter. I'm writing this commentary on First Peter, and the thing is, all of you wrote on passages I've already dealt with. And so I kept thinking, oh, I have to go back now and revise what I wrote. Yeah, thank you.
Well, does anyone have any final word before we go?
We covered it all.
All right. Well, oh, yes, Avis.
I don't think I have a final word. I have more of a desire to acknowledge your mother and to say that's been an added blessing for me, since I don't believe I've ever met her in the person. I think I have the weddings, but nonetheless, Mrs. Martin, it's an honor to have you in this company to witness our experience of your son and how he has enhanced all of our lives on multiple levels. Certainly, he couldn't be the person he has become without you and your husband and his immediate family, and then his family of choice. So I want to thank you, I think in all of our names, for all you've done, but also your presence here today with us.
Yes, thank you,
I don't know either. How do you respond? I don't know how to say anything. We don't know how to respond. Just say thank you, Mom. And maybe she can hear you. Can you hear? I don't know how. I don't know how.
We can hear you, Mom. Can you hear us?
Yeah, we didn't know if y'all could hear us. We didn't know how to do it. Mom, what do you want to say?
Thank you. And he has been a wonderful son, and I'm very proud of him and his accomplishments.
Well, thank you,
From
Mom.
a farm boy, he was out on a tractor when a preacher came from another denomination that didn't even know him, said he wanted to talk to him. And so the tractor broke down, and Wayne came to the house, and he told Wayne he thought he was called to the ministry. And he had a full scholarship to A&M. He was going to be he wanted to be a rancher. So that's how our lives changed. So then we just changed up whatever he wanted to do and felt called to do. We stood beside him, and he's been a success in it. And we thank all of y'all for the good things you've wrote and said about him.
Thank you, Mom. Thank you. You're a wonderful mom, too.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for your participation today and in early stages of our project and our contributions together. We thank you for being here and trust that we can meet again in person soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you all.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Congratulations, Troy.
Thank you, Margie. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Wayne.
Thank you, sis.
Congratulations, Troy.
Thank you.
Bye, Troy. Take care.
All right, Edmundo.
Bye.
Stay healthy.
Congratulations.
California.
Bye.
Andrew said bye.
Bye, Francois.
Sounds back on.
Congratulations, Troy.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye, Chris and Jan.
I cut out now.
Very happy for you, nephew.
Thank you very much, Aunt Sue.
We love you, Dad.
Love you too, Amy.
Congrats again.
Lucas.
Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Round
This is party nobody wants to leave.
Oh.
Thanks, Jenny.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure to be here. Thanks, Cheryl.
Yeah.
Good to
yeah.
see you always. All right,
Yeah.
friends. Take care now.
All right,
Bye.
Jenny. Bye.
Bye, Hans Dieter.
Thank you.
You're welcome,
Thank
Hans
you.
Dieter. Thank you for
Thank
joining
you
us.
for inviting me. It's a great honor. And as soon as the pandemic is over, we should get together and have lunch.
Yes, that's good. I'll put that on my schedule.
Right. So far.
Yes.
Yeah, we got the shots.
Oh, congratulations.
So,
The first one.
the first one.
Yeah.
So there is a light at the end of the tunnel, we hope.
Yes, let's hope so. Yes, indeed.
All right.
Hope to see you soon, Troy.
All right, Russ,
Bye, Russ.
look forward to it.
Thank you, Eric and Mark.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh,
Thank you so much. Really do appreciate all you've done.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
You're welcome.
So hopefully we can get together again soon.
Hopefully.
God,
So.
God willing.
Yep.
Thanks, Eric. I'm gonna leave now too.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye, Mark. All right. Well, I'll tell everyone goodbye then, and
Goodbye.
until next time.
Great. Take care.
All right. Thanks.